So it's been a few months since I started playing fighting games back at about, I want to say October, November, when I started to take these seriously. And I've noticed myself really gravitating towards these speedy, mix-up, tricky characters. I have, and I mean, what's not to love? You pretty much got a type of character that just runs in, unga bunga, turn your brain off, do mix-ups, just do a bunch of different combo charts, and then eventually find one that sticks, and once it sticks, you just zip around the screen like crazy? Yeah, I want that one. Even though you don't got damage, you can still make crazy strings and make sure your opponent can't breathe, just literally cut off their oxygen, and just go absolutely crazy. Break a wall in Guilty Gear, or just do crazy infinites in Marvel. It's awesome. Like, neutral? I don't even listen to neutral. Defense? What's that? I just run in. When I need to defend, I probably have a DP. I use that reversal, and then we're back in. We're so back in, baby. Like, sure. Also, my health, most of the time, is terrible. If so much as a light punch hits me, I'm probably dead. But hey, you know what? I'm fast as fuck. I got crazy combos. I don't even care. I got crazy movement. And you know what? I love it. You know, playing characters like Chip, Strider, Rashid. Fuck, even Nova. You know, Rashid and Nova don't really fit the soccer player syndrome of getting their ass beat. And they still got good damage, but hey, they're still moving around like crazy. They can control the air, they can fly. So you know what? It so scratches the itch in my brain. I love it. And you know what? Fatal Fury dropped, and when that dropped, I thought I was gonna play, you know, the funny ninja boy with a low taper fade. Ninjas are usually a giveaway for this type of playstyle, save for like Ibuki. And when I saw that teleport in the Evo showcase when they announced Hokutomaru, dude, oh my god, I was so excited. I pogged the fuck out. My girlfriend was right there. She did not understand what was going on, but I just saw Chip from Plus R and everything clicked. The stars aligned. I was so excited to play him. I played him on launch. I was like, Kim Dong-Hwan, get out of the way. But, I wanted to like him. I did. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's one of the best characters right now. He's literally the only one in terms of like the online data where the matchups are heavily in his favor. Plus, there's an army of Hokutomarus right now. Pretty much every online weekly you see, half of it is taken up by Hokutomarus. You'd think, oh, this would be a shoo-in for UNM. You'd absolutely love this. You know, you can air stall, you can send in shurikens, you know, you can teleport in too. It should be fun for you, right? Dude, I want defense so badly because already I'm used to the mindset of if I get hit, if I'm in a chokehold and corner, I'm probably dead. Because most of the times, yeah, I'm playing characters like that where I get burnt up on contact. I'm looking at you, Chip Xanath. Nah. Okay, let me calm down. I love Chip. I love Chip. But back to Hokutomaru. If I want a reversal, this man's got no parries, no DPs, and nothing invincible to get back out of defense. All I got is to use my meter or use my rev blow. And even then, my rev blow is only available during SPG, and it's also one of the only moves that is heavily punishable on block. One of the only rev blows in this game, which means I have to constantly be on my A game. And also, yeah, that also means I'm using Excel ratio because I need that rev blow. But if I get hit by one combo, my rev blow is gone, which means most of my defensive options are gone. Plus, his playstyle, that was a fucking lie. I got sold a lie. I am not playing a rushdown pixie mix-up demon like I thought I was. I'm playing a zoner. All I do is air stall or just try to use shurikens to make sure they can't get in. And if they try or get really close, I just EX teleport, which is like, okay, I can do combos after that, after I get the EX teleport, but I don't want to stall in the corner and just throw shurikens. Hell, I asked people when I was struggling with getting out of the corner, when I was getting my ribs kicked in, like, hey, how do I get out? And they're like, oh yeah, all you gotta do is just double jump or just air style, you know, air feint, and you'll be fine. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm getting my just kicked in. How am I gonna jump? My legs are useless. What am I gonna do? Okay, I'm calm. I'm calm. I mean, at this point, when I pick up Fatal Fury, I just play Terry. He's an all-rounder. He can do rushdown. He can DP. That's fine. I can live with that. I'm just playing him while I'm waiting. Waiting for who, you may ask? Well, this guy's got a DP, and it looks like he's not just a normal, boring Shoto anymore, and it looks like he may become a mix-up demon, you know? Especially learning from Akuma, I think he's got the answers I've been praying for. And those answers are coming from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Andy motherfucking Bogard, baby! Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't really interested in playing Andy before. I was set on just playing Hokutomaru for the time being until like I got tired of him, and then I picked up Terry, and that's kind of the situation I'm in now. But then Evo Japan happened, and we finally saw some gameplay of this guy, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute, this is kind of interesting. I was expecting Andy to play like he has played for the past couple of years, like in the modern KOF titles, just your standard Shoto, you got a neutral skip, you got a fireball, you got a DP, you're all arounder, you're boring. Look, that's my hot take for the day. Shotos are boring. I don't like them. They're carbon copies sometimes. It's boring. But Andy looks like he's got sauce now. Because your boy's got an air fireball, he's got a different fireball in his EX form, he's got high-low mix-ups after his Zen Akin, and I guess Capcom versus SNK 3 is happening, or something happened with the My DLC in Street Fighter 6, because I guess Andy started training with Akuma and Candy, because we got a demon hooligan flip going on here for some reason, with like 4 follow-up options after, including 2 grabs. Like, shoot, wait a minute, is this the second coming of Akuma? Because, again, yeah, we got air fireballs, like, ooh. Like, I didn't play Akuma in Street Fighter, but Marvel vs. Capcom, like, I dabble in the boy a little bit, and like, dang, this is gonna be fun for Andy. But, honestly, this is great, too, because after that, I kind of took a deep dive into how people felt about Andy Bogard. And what's interesting is that this isn't the first time bro was kind of crazy with the sauce in terms of mix-ups and rushdown and being close range. Sure, it's a new breed now, but there was a point before that he was crazy like this. But I think before we get into that, I think we should go into what I was talking about, the sauceless, the boring version of him. And that's with my exposure with him in King of Fighters 15. So, I just want to lay the groundwork for my main experience with KOF 15 before today. About like 2 to 3 months back, I want to say, my local scene was running this thing called Little Cup. We've only run one so far, and it's basically Say Jam Slam, if you know that, but just for our local scene. And by the way, I'm in North Carolina. Got a shout out to NCFGC. But we've one run so far. And that one was for KOF 15. And that meant at the start, I was trying a good amount of characters. Not only were I trying them out for the first time in KOF 15, but also just ever, because before then I only had an introduction to Terry Bogard in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like everybody else on this rock, in space. Everyone else has had this experience. But I was one of the lucky few who got to dive even further into the legacy of SNK. So that meant a lot more characters to be introduced to. One of the ones I heard about was Andy, because you know he's a bit mobile, he can space control, and I was like, okay, well, I'll try him for a little bit. I'm just going to emphasize that again, because a little bit. He still had a good moveset, you know, covers anything you need. He's got a fireball if he wants to zone out a little bit. He's got the DP for a reversal, and if he wants to get in, you know, he's got his Zanaiken and his Kuhadan for some neutral skip options. But that's it. That is all. That is everything that boy's got. Like, even his little flip is just a command normal. And you think you could do stuff after that, like in some of the older titles, but no, it's you do a flip. That's all he does. He does a flip. He's got nothing else. Like, he's got all the pieces of the puzzle. Do not get me wrong. He's not missing anything in his moveset. But look, we've cooked the pasta, and it's good pasta. But we got nothing else. There's no sauce. There's no ricotta. There's no parmesan. There's no mozzarella. We're missing everything else. There's nothing. This boy is bland. And that's the thing. Modern KOF Andy doesn't want none of that sauce. No cheese, no nothing. He is bland as can ever be. Not only in KOF 15 does that make him look a little bit unappealing, but there's a lot of other Shotos in that game. Just look at, Rio's got a little bit like that, got all that stuff, but, a lot more fun. And, Andy kind of just, blends into the background because of that. And that also makes that matchup easy for a lot of other people to understand when you're playing it. Andy's an easy matchup to learn. And not because it's like a Tizok situation in this game. May Tizok rest in peace, by the way. I know a lot of my grappler friends are just going through it. But hey, you got Kevin. You're fine. But you don't gotta study much. Because again, there's no mix-ups. There's no Rekka. There's no Oki. There's no pokes. There's no cheddar. There's no mozzarella. There's no nothing. There's nothing. You don't gotta study much. You're studying the bare necessities, and that's it. That's why the matchup's so easy. It really turned me off from playing Andy because, again, he's not delivering on what I want. I did pick up Duolon though. That guy's crazy. That guy's crazy in terms of his record, and he can just do a single sequence and then do it again. That's awesome. I love Duolon, but he's got a Kuma gameplay now in Southtown, so he's back to being the mix-up demon, and that's right, let me specify that. He's back, because he used to have the sauce. He got reset. In KOF 12, there was some big modern Shoto reset for this man. Because from KOF 96 to 02, he was like a close-up, close-range, mix-up, rush-down demon. And looking at what they're doing now in City of the Wolves, it looks like they're taking how he used to play in those games and evolving it even further to just fit that archetype even more. And I gotta say, for how I play, I absolutely love it. So how I want to do this is I want to look at moves in KOF 96 through 02, and then go to Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, see how this unique move in the KOF titles has been evolved upon in City of the Wolves, and kind of just look at the two. And what better way to start to look at Andy's Hishoken, which, because SNK wanted to make almost everybody's fireballs close range projectiles to, force people to fight each other face to face, Hishoken just became this close range projectile that could also knock down. And yeah, this Hishoken was really good in neutral. It's good at mid-range zoning because it can reach past screen. It can check opponents, make sure that they're awake, because if not, and if they're just kind of rushing in, they're going to get 5 big booms, and they're going to get hard knockdown on the other side of the screen. Which, yeah, it can just blow them up full screen for some reason. Just don't try to use this right up close when you don't have a good situation. Because if you whiff, or it gets blocked, yeah, you're just dead. Because Hishoken up close is going to be heavily punishable. Also, get ready for me to say that for a lot of his moves. I'm going to be repeating myself in that. Do not do this when your opponent's blocking, or else you're going to get punished. I'm going to be saying it a lot. And hey, all that was just for the light version of this move. Because if you pop the C version of this move, you get the Geki Hishoken, which is this large stationary ball of fire that just stays on screen for about 5 seconds. And this version of Hishoken wasn't very good to use in these KOF titles. It was easily punishable. You could guard cancel, you could jump over it, you could roll. It just wasn't the best. It's not the best. It only really secured pushback on block against the enemy for Andy. So 9 times out of 10, you would just use this as a combo finisher, or you can just get some nice chip damage. But other than that, you would use the light version of this move, obviously. It was the primarily one used, but it's the Geki version that's actually showing up in City of the Wolves as the EX version of Hishoken, which is also staying as the standard fireball. So you got the normal fireball in Hishoken, the normal one you see in the modern KOF titles, and you got the Geki Hishoken from these KOF titles that appears as EX fireball. And also, you gotta remember now that Bro can just do it in the air. Yes, we can use this giant Geki Hishoken in the air. So if both you and your opponent are jumping on each other, you can just pop this, and then big boom against your opponent, big boom. Honestly, it's great that Andy has access to both, because again, you can zone out a bit with the normal Hishoken, with the normal fireball, which, yeah, in City of the Wolves, having a fireball is so important. And if Andy can move with this fireball, oh yeah, he's going to be up there. He is going to be up there, because the pressure is going to be insane with him if he can move alongside his fireball, and it can allow him to get in. But of course, we'll talk about his neutral skip options in a moment. But also, again, that EX one, which looks really good for catching jumps. As I said, if somebody's coming in, we can just pull off the EX exclusively as either an air connection or just a good whiff option to catch jumps. It's just like, big boom. The air gain for Andy is already looking like it gets 5 big booms for his dead dad. Okay, I'm done with the big booms. Also, Andy, I'm sorry for bringing up your dead dad. May he rest in peace. I am so sorry. So, we talked about his fireball, but what about his neutral skip options? We're going to skip over Kuhadan because it's virtually the same here. Of course, we can break it, we can use it, that's about it. Let's move on to his Zanai Ken, because of course, Hokatamaru already got in this game. So how are we going to mix it up? Why, add high-low mix-ups to that, baby, you already know. And in actuality, in KOF 96 through 02, he did have follow-ups to his Zanai Ken. Well, follow-ups, I should say follow-up. Because in 96 through 99, he had access to the Gendanko, and in 2000 to 02, he had access to Shippu Yokoken. So, a follow-up in each game. And these follow-ups were virtually the same in both of these games. You could use them as a follow-up to the Zanai Ken, and if they hit, they guaranteed soft knockdown, and also, combo extenders allow you to catch your breath for a little bit, maybe think about Oki, stuff like that. Zanai Ken, already strong and reliable combo ender in those games in terms of damage, and you could use the weak version of it for mobility. It could go half screen, while the heavy version went full, but it was just heavily punishable if it was on block. And in terms of these follow-ups, they do different things. For the earlier titles with Gendanko, let's think of a bank account here. And your bank account is overdrafted. Maybe overdrafted $100. And Gendanko, you pay off 50 of that. You're still in the red. You're still not going to be safe on block, but it leaves you a little bit safer to maybe, have some lee room with it. And in the later titles with Shippu Yokoken, you get charged $50 extra. So, a little bit of a worse situation. Both of them, again, had similar things going on. It's just how it would help your on-block situation was either better or worse. Meaning in the earlier titles, you could try to whip out the Gendanko if you're already on block to make it a little better for yourself. But if you did that with Shippu Yokoken, you're about to get just beat to a pulp. So, how is it different now in City of the Wolves? I mean, as you said before, Hokatamaru's already got access to Zanai Ken, and he uses it pretty well, especially the EX version you can use right after a Kuhandan and the Kuhandan break version, which is very useful for extending your combo. It's also a very good combo ender. You can use the light for mobility as before. So, Andy's got to have it differently. And now we have access for the Kyokyu as a high and Sokuho as a low. Also, I'm sorry if I butcher anything. I am trying my very best. But yeah, he's got high-low mix-ups now. So maybe you could try to condition your opponent for going for a lot of low attacks, and then when you pop out the heavy version, specifically the heavy version of Zanai Ken, can use these Rekka options. But yeah, you condition them to think that you're going low, and then boom, pop out the QQ, and then we got a nice extender to our combo. We can try to maybe even go for some Rev Excels after that. It just allows Zanai Ken to be the neutral skip option that you can mix up with right after. Maybe even try to end your combo. And of course, that Sokuho is going to have knockdown, which is very nice. Make sure to condition them with the way they're blocking, and then when they block wrong, go for the overhead or go for the low sweep. If they're not reacting nicely, bait them out and then get them. So we've already talked about some of his other stuff, you know, you got your air fireballs, you got your Rekka right after your neutral skip. But I think the really cool thing we have here is his evolution of the Gene Shiranui, which is Shin Gene Shiranui. Now, Gene Shiranui, it's not something new. As I mentioned, it's in KOF 15. But it's just a flip, bro, just does a flip. That's it, he does a flip, that's it. That's all you get. It's a command normal. He does a flip to get back on the ground, trying to just jump over your opponent. That's it. Again, no sauce. Now, this move was also in these KOF titles that we've been looking at before to look at what City of the Wolves is doing. But it's a lot different. Mainly, it was a special move instead of his command normal. And this is the original birthplace of Andy's high-low mix-ups, because yes, he had high-low mix-ups in these games. Mainly in the later titles like KOF 02, where you can have a dive elbow, and then right after that you can follow up with an overhead jumping axe kick with the Uwa Agito, or you can jab their shins low with the Shimo Agito. So yeah, Agito coming out full force. And as mentioned before, like a lot of the other moves we've covered, the Gene Shiranui, unsafe on block. Don't do it on block. And on top of that, when you input the move, you'll pause for a little bit in the air, so your opponent will just be looking up at you in awe before you do your dive elbow. It looks like you just unlock creative mode somehow in KOF. So after just like a split second, they got good reaction time. They're going to be like, alright, he's about to dive elbow. But as I mentioned before, that's why we got high-low mix-ups, baby. That's the point. That's the point of the game. So that we can mix up our opponent after they download on what we're doing. As long as our opponent does not block either of those, since yes, the Rekka, as mentioned before, is unsafe on block, and if our elbow is blocked, the opponent can just roll away from the follow-up too. But hey, if we hit those, we get a knockdown, so we're still good. Plus, with mix-ups, we can always condition our opponent to think one thing, then we go for the other move. That's just kind of the whole definition of mix-up in the first place. You're mixing your opponent up. Just make sure they never guess your next move. Especially since now in City of the Wolves, our follow-ups have doubled. Yeah, we got 4. We got 4 options. We got 4 of them, baby. You still do the modern flip, and it's got a good curve still in this game. It sucks that you can't do it in the air. We do lose that compared to the dive elbow, but we got mix-ups for days, baby. So I'm just going to go in order of the buttons. So starting off, we got A, or the weak punch, which gives you the Shin Kumo Garami, which is this like sick air grab where you try to pull out your opponent's limbs. You're just going to go for a bit of a chokehold all around. And then with the weak kick, otherwise known as B, you got the Shira Ame, which is just, standard low jab. And almost one-to-one with the Shimo Agito. Pretty much one-to-one with that. And then you got your strong punch, which gives you this cross-up axe punch, which puts you on the other side of your opponent, called the Kuro Ame. And then D gives you another grab with the Shin Kumo Garami. Wait, that's twice? I mean, there's some similarities, yeah, with what we had before, but again, Akuma taught this man the real way to mix people up. Plus, yeah, cross up. You can do some crazy stuff afterwards. This is going to be really good for mixing up your opponent because, again, you got 4 options. They're not going to guess the same thing over and over. They're not going to guess between 4 different options. So if you can mix up like crazy, you mix it up like crazy. Hey, this is Future, and I'm here. I just want to make a quick edit because I did accidentally write in my script that the Shin Kumo Garami was both the weak punch and the strong kick option, which obviously they can't both be the same thing, especially as they're 2 different moves. It is actually the Shibuki that is the A option. So, yeah, I mean, I know they're both grabs, but they are different names. They're not the same name, so my fault on that. I'll take responsibility, but let's go back to Pass NM to wrap up this video. Now, there's a lot more that I could talk about with Andy's playstyle and moveset in the pre-modern KOF era, but I just wanted to focus on those 3 different moves because those are the ones that SNK is taking and evolving on in City of the Wolves now. So it was just really nice to see these 3 moves, what SNK did with them before, and now how they're cooking Andy up, you know, turning that mix-up, close range, rush down potentiality to 11 to make him feel and look a lot better than he did before, because myself included, but a lot of people have wanted this playstyle for Andy Bogard back. You can take a look at a lot of these Reddit forums or even stuff on some other forums, you know, and you see, yeah, people want Andy back to this playstyle, and that is being shown first and foremost here. Obviously, hindsight might be 2020. This is all being edited and hopefully put up before Andy drops, so we won't know for sure. But yeah, it's also nice that he has defensive options, like his DP. So Andy's going to feel very good for anybody looking for that playstyle in Hokutomaru, because obviously Hokutomaru is not the ninja that we all wanted. We got robbed. He is simply put just a hit and run zoner. You just air stall, you just shuriken, and then you might get a hit and it might lead to a combo, and then you're just jumping around like crazy again. You're not going in. This is no Chip Xanath. This is no Chip. This is no Strider. This is a whole different type of ninja. And whenever you get knocked down, sure, you can try to jump out of the way, but what are you doing right after that? Maybe trying to shuriken, maybe trying to teleport. At least you got teleports. But other than that, I'm going insane. I just want to jump out of the corner, and then I'm getting my ribs kicked in. I'm gonna lose it. Hey everybody, I just wanted to calm down, take a little bit, and just say thank you all if you're watching my first truly edited video right now. I did a lot of this stuff in middle school, but it would just be me recording myself in front of my iPad with like Wikipedia articles that I just read off. I didn't really know what I was doing. But now that I've kind of settled into the FGC, I feel very comfortable here now. It feels like just like such a loving, tight-knit community that I just want to make content for it and make people, you know, like learn a little bit. I don't see people talking about stuff that I want to talk about, kind of like what I did with Andy Bogard. So now I feel confident to start making more content. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep trying to get better at this. Obviously, this has been a new experience. It's not going to be perfect. My intro was definitely long and I kind of repeated myself with a few things, but other than that, I'm pretty proud of what I've done. In terms of what I want to do next, I think I want to do character deep dives into FGC characters that I'm very passionate about, and I think I want to start with Nova from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Or even do stuff that showcases my commentary, like highlight reels. Of course, I already got a reel on my channel. You can check that out if you want to. But just stuff showcasing what I'm doing as a community member too. I also want to vlog a little bit of CEO and some other locals. Just show my local scene, because NCFGC has a lot of nice stuff. And I'm lucky that I'm in such a nice local community. And I want to interact with them more. It'd be nice. But yeah, also CEO. And I also want to make shorts in real time for some of the big stuff that happens over there, just in the moment, just upload it immediately, not think about it. Probably one of the ones I'm thinking about in my head is like a follow-up to this video, since Andy Bogard will be on the show floor at CEO. So I can kind of talk about if some things I was right about, some things I was wrong about, how I feel about him after like truly getting my hands on him, since obviously a lot of this video was just researching stuff and trying out his older movesets. I don't have my hands on City of the Wolves Andy Bogard right now, so a lot of this was just looking at it, but playing it is a whole different experience. And again, this was lovely But Nova is probably going to be a post CEO project, since if I do make another video like this before CEO, it'll be something else that I know will be on the show floor, so I can, you know, make a similar YouTube short right after talking about what I got right and wrong about it. Nova will be a post CEO project, since that'll be a bigger project. Plus, I want to get a better understanding of the character himself. I need to read a good amount of comics in one continuous storyline for that, the Annihilation event I'm starting off with, and I still got to go through the Drax the Destroyer miniseries from 2004. I read the first issue, very great start, you know, crash landing from prison onto Earth into a small, quiet town, very nice so far, but I still got to read a lot more. But I'm trailing, just look forward to a lot more content. I'm going to try to really lock in more. Thank you, everybody, for watching this video. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like in the comments. Make sure I have something to improve upon. Yes, I'm going to look at the comments and read them. I know, sacrilege, but I'm just starting out, so it'll help. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a damn good one. Peace out.